Winchester, Virginia's historic Frederick County Court House was built in 1840, and it was built on the site of the original courthouse from 1741. During the war between 1861 and 1865, this courthouse was used both as a hospital, a barracks, and even a prison for a time. In fact, the grassy lawn out in front of the courthouse was originally fenced in during the war and was used to house, I believe it was up to 2,000 prisoners. I can't remember if they were Union or Confederate, but they were housed in that courtyard out front. With one of the restoration projects of the courthouse, the old courthouse bell and its bell tower was exposed on the inside, so you can look up to the bell itself, and there's a rope that you can still ring the bell today. Another one of the many treasures inside this courthouse were the names and graffiti markings of soldiers who were housed here either as prisoners or as wounded soldiers when this building was used as a hospital. Soldiers like William Sella, who inscribed his name on the wall inside the courthouse. He was one of the pro-Union Virginians that came from part of the state that would eventually become West Virginia. The list inscribed here, probably in pencil, shows Major Pope from the 8th New York, captured in Funkstown July 10th, Major Farnsworth, captured in Halltown, Schofield in Hagerstown, Norcross in Ashby's Gap, Potter in Falling Waters, Kellogg, also in Falling Waters, and Hammond in Harper's Ferry. And then First Lieutenant John Wills, born 1826 in Charlottesville, Virginia, actually enlisted as a corporal in the 51st Virginia Infantry Company G. John Wills was married in 1856 and had 4 children. He would return home after the war, have 4 more children, and die in 1912. Similar to what we would call trench art today, I thought this drawing was interesting, being that it was more of a cartoonish picture. Another one of the inscriptions was from Private Henry Kissel, who enlisted June 5, 1861 in Petersburg. He deserted sometime in November or December of 1863. Another deserter from the 5th Virginia turned himself over to Union forces in Dumfries, Virginia, March 29, 1863, and explained he quit because of no pay, no clothing, and only 1/4 pound of meat a day. All of the graffiti in the courthouse is exposed and covered with plexiglass, and most of it has an explanation plaque next to it telling you what it is that has been inscribed and has an enhancement of the inscription so you can actually read it. However, there are several portions inside that are exposed, like this, that shows that there was definitely something inscribed here, but it's no longer legible. In other places, like along through here, you could actually see the exposed horsehair in the horsehair plaster when this was originally built, probably in 1840. This one looked like a profile of someone with curly hair, and then maybe on the right hand side was a rough draft of the final version on the left. Along with some other inscriptions on this one, you can see on the upper right hand corner, looks like a female, maybe a stick figure, I guess you would say. Possibly the drawing of a loved one or a family member at home, where a prisoner or a wounded soldier that was kept here was thinking that they may never get to see them again. Here's a Union prisoner, Henry A. Jones of the 3rd U.S. Cavalry, inscribed his name, which was later found to be an alias. His given name was actually Henry Powell, enlisted October 10, 1865. Some more graffiti here of a horse, maybe someone's favorite horse, or maybe documenting an incident they witnessed in battle. And then on the left you see hash marks, maybe somebody counting down the days or counting the number of days they've been kept here. Most of this is now unlegible, but if you see in the bottom left, looks like another portrait or a drawing of a soldier wearing a kepi. I encourage you to pause the video periodically and look at some of these drawings and look closely. It shows a little more clearly when the video is paused. There's an awful lot of graffiti here that most of it's not really legible, but to think about the people that wrote these things here and the trials and tribulations they were going through when they actually wrote them. And this is one of the more popular inscriptions here that became known as the Jeff Davis curse. It reads, "To Jeff Davis, may he be set afloat on a boat without a compass or rudder, and then that any contents be swallowed by a shark, the shark by a whale, the whale in the devil's belly, and the devil in hell, the gates locked and the key lost. And further, may he be put in the northwest corner, with a southeast wind blowing ashes in his eyes for all eternity." This inscription was most likely carved by a Union prisoner, but I suppose it could also have been carved by a Southerner. It's really hard to say. There were times during the war, most notably at the end of the war, when Jeff Davis wasn't quite so popular with Southern soldiers. Maybe during the bread riots in Richmond later in the war, or the Conscription Act, which was basically a form of the draft for Southern soldiers during the war. It's really hard to say for sure, but what is sure is that whoever inscribed this was not very happy with Jefferson Davis.